It's been a while. Thank you for tuning in, guys. So I've been pretty busy, and that's why I haven't been online. I've been working security shifts. Some of you have even spotted me on shift and come and said hello. So thank you to those of you who have. And I've been working full-time Monday to Friday, and I've just generally been a pretty flat-out dude. So for that reason, I haven't been around so much. Anyway, let's get into this, because this is something you don't want to miss. Now, you all know that I've been speaking out against feminism for quite some time. Some people say, oh, but feminism's about equality. No, it's not, and I'm going to show you why. It's been hiding under the cloak of the term equality for quite some time, but it's never actually been about equality. And this woman has just ripped the shroud off the lies of feminism and exposed it for what it really is. It's a push for female supremacy. Think I'm kidding? Hang tight, baby, because I've got one for you. Feminist author and activist Mona Eltahaway shares her call to action for women and girls. This article is titled, "I Want Patriarchy to Fear Women. The time for being civil, polite, and peaceful is over." Mona Eltahaway urges that radical steps need to be taken in order to dismantle patriarchy, including the use of, and I quote, justifiable violence against men. Imagine that. Women advocating violence against men after all this time demanding all this legislation to stop men being violent to women. But now they want to do it the other way around, unabetted. I've been sleeping on morning. Is that it? They basically want open slather. Aided and unabetted. Whatever. Hope that's right. The Egyptian-American journalist and activist argues that being civil, respectful, and polite should no longer be options for women and girls. So it's not just that you shouldn't be civil, respectful, and polite. It shouldn't be an option for women and girls. They shouldn't actually be permitted to be respectful, civil, and polite, even if they want to. That should be forced upon them. And this is what feminism's about, forcing things upon women, whether they like it or not. And I quote, "Politeness upholds the power of patriarchy," she told Out in the Open host Pia Chitapataya. It's hard to pronounce. "I want patriarchy to fear feminism. I want patriarchy to fear women," she says. It's kind of powerful, which is exactly what she's going for. Eltahaway is recognized for spearheading the #MosqueMeToo movement in 2018, where Muslim women spoke out against being sexually assaulted in sacred places, including while on the Hajj, an Islamic pilgrimage to Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, by the way, is right down the bottom of gender equality ratings in the basic index of gender inequality, so I guess that's not really a surprise when you look at that from that angle. She also coined the hashtag, which is #IBeatMyAssaulter, after a man in a Montreal nightclub groped her, and she proceeded to beat him up. Now she's got a tweet here, and I don't know if you can see it clearly or not, because it's kind of bright here, but I'm going to show anyway. There we go. I'm going to read it to you. 15-year-old, 50-year-old, in hijab, in a tank top, sexually assaulted, sexually assaulted. I froze and burst into tears. I beat the fuck out of my assaulter. Moral of the story, touch me without my consent, I will break your fucking hand. That's her tweet. Just for a bit of context here also, I was working at a club last night in Sydney, and I was working on the door. And just near the door was this area, the smokers area, and there was a bunch of people hanging around there. They had like a gathering. And one of the cleaners came to me and said, "There's someone being aggressive over here." And that's like code for like, get some fucking guards in there because we don't want this to escalate. So I grabbed the club manager who was right next to me, and I was like, "Dave, we've got an aggressive patron over there. Can you go sort it out?" because I couldn't leave the door, right? So I went over there and he brought her back, and it was a girl who was being aggressive. And what had happened, a guy had gone past her and accidentally knocked her with his elbow, must have been carrying drinks, or maybe he was just shuffling through. Whatever the case, she thought that he intentionally shoved her. And he was asked what happened, and he's like, look, I'm so sorry, I felt really bad. But what it actually, it basically didn't realize that he was going to knock her, and then when he did, she turned around, she just pushed him back, like she got really aggressive with him, got physical. And then when we asked her, like, what was the go, she goes, well, you know, he nudged me, like he pushed me out of the way with his elbow, and you know, I pushed him back. She's like, well, we spoke to him, and he's actually a super nice guy. Like, he actually felt really bad, and he said that he knocked you, yes, but it wasn't on purpose, and he actually felt really bad about it. So it was only until after that happened, she's like, oh, well, you know, look, I'm really sorry then, you know, I didn't realize that it wasn't on purpose. And I said to her, I said, I gotta ask you a question. Let's say if you'd gone past him and accidentally nudged him, then he'd pushed you out of the way. How would you have responded? Would you have made accusations that he physically assaulted you? She's like, I just nodded my head and I said, yeah, exactly. I said, so two wrongs don't make a right. But yet this is what's being advocated for here. And if you're finding this interesting so far, smash the thumbs up, guys, because there's only about a quarter of you that have done that already. And algorithms in YouTube are not pushing MGTOW videos forward. They're not pushing videos forward that speak out against this feminist nonsense. So it's very important that you guys share these videos, smash the thumbs up, engage, interact, comment, just to bring the engagement up so other men can see what they need to look out for. In her latest book, The 7 Necessary Sins for Women and Girls, Eltahaway says women and girls need to harness anger, attention-seeking, ambition, power, profanity, lust, and violence in order to truly be liberated from what she describes as the tentacles of the octopus known as patriarchy. Wow, let me just recap that. Anger, attention-seeking, ambition, power, profanity, lust, and violence. So basically all the things that we're seeing in the modern woman in Australia and the US and the UK and basically every other Western country right now. Every country where feminism is rife and just like a common thing. So I don't know why Eltahaway feels the need to advocate for this stuff when it's already fucking happening. Eltahaway sat down with POWR to have a deeply personal conversation about being sexually assaulted. And I'm sorry for Eltahaway if she genuinely was actually sexually assaulted. Right? I'm actually genuinely sorry for her. But that doesn't give her the right to advocate what she's advocating for. So Eltahaway sat down to have a deeply personal conversation about her being sexually assaulted and how her lived experiences have helped her arrive at unequivocal strength of conviction within herself and her views in feminism. Now there's also a link here. It says the interview below has been edited and condensed. Click here to listen to the full conversation. I'm not going to go into that today, guys, just for your benefit. But if you really want to look at the full conversation, feel free to go and click on it. Link in the description below. Your mission in life and in this book is to fight patriarchy. That is a word that many people might argue has been rendered meaningless, that it gets thrown around a lot, and that it may mean different things to different people. What does it mean to you? I want people to imagine patriarchy as an octopus. The head of that octopus is patriarchy, because that is the ideology that moves the 8 tentacles of the octopus. And each one of those tentacles is what we call systems of oppression, or various institutions that oppress us. So it would be, here's the 8, guys. You're sitting down right now. White supremacy, capitalism, misogyny, homophobia, bigotry, ableism, things like that. So that was only 6, Mona. But you know, I know that you probably did gender studies, so you can't count to 10, so I'm going to let it slide. I want people to understand that patriarchy is not men. Wait, so patriarchy isn't men? So it must be women? I don't know. Please explain this to me, Mona. I'm talking about an ideology that uses systems of institutions and oppressions to privilege male dominance. Wow. Systems of institutions. So like systems of universities that they use to give women preferential treatment, that kind of systems where you don't want to hear about when it works the other way around, only when it works one way. Whatevs. What does practicing the sin of ambition look like in your life? Asked Priya. Mona says, the sin of ambition for me is, I deserve more. I am worthy of more. The kind of ambition we usually, how's the entitlement, right? The kind of ambition we usually hear about is a very upper middle class, white definition of ambition. And that would be to become CEO, get a corner office. Or, you know, Mona, you could just start your own fucking company and become the CEO of that. But no, you've got to go to a man's company that he started and he built up from the ground for like the last 40, 50 years. And you've got to take over the corner office in his country. What are you going to do? Make him the cleaner? You dumbass. Oh, yeah. It's a very capitalist, very privileged kind of ambition, the goal of which is to be wealthy. And I don't want any of those things. Really? So you don't want money and power, Mona? Is that what you're telling me? You just want to, live in a little studio apartment and not have any influence? Is that why you wrote a book that you're selling? Is that why, Mona? Because you sound like you're full of shit to me. Based on anger and attention, I am more than what patriarchy will allow me to be. Wait, so patriarchy won't allow you to be more than what you want to be, right? Like, here's the thing, right? She's saying, I'm more than what patriarchy will allow me to be, which means that somehow patriarchy has allowed you to be what you want to be, or be even more than that. So you've literally just, in the space of that very short sentence, completely debunked and put a short circuit in your own stance. This is just feminist logic. Priya says, how would you like to see women and girls claiming and redefining ambition for themselves? Mona says, I want them to listen to the words of working class Latin ex-poet. So it's actually Latina poet, but she doesn't want her to say Latina. She wants to say Latin X because that's using a gendered pronoun. So Latin ex-poet and novelist Erica L. Sanchez, or as someone before referred to, Dirty Sanchez, who wrote this beautiful essay in which she says, I know that the ambition of my working class migrant family who crossed that border from Mexico into the United States so that I could have a better life. I know that their ambition for me was to work somewhere air conditioned and somewhere in corporate America, but that is not the ambition I wanted. She wanted to be a writer. So here is this woman of a working class background who understood that her ambition was very different than the ambition that her parents imagined, and she wanted the freedom to dream for herself. This is what I want, said Mona. Priya says, in Canada, gender parity in the House of Commons has been a goal. It has been lauded by many progressives, a goal that was achieved in our most recent cabinet. But you say feminism is not about counting the number of women in key jobs. Why not? This answer is going to tell you everything that you need to know about feminism and their quest for money and power. Money and power. Power over men. Power over society. Power over men's money and men's ability to thrive. Mona says in response, because feminism is about putting women in political power from where they will dismantle patriarchy. And patriarchy is basically any law, piece of legislation, or, generally accepted thing in society that doesn't put women on a fucking pedestal. I'm not interested in counting how many women are in the cabinet just because they're women. We have women in the Republican Party, the governor of Alabama, for example, who signed into effect one of the most prohibitive laws when it comes to abortion and women's rights. And here is a woman in a position of political power who is upholding the patriarchy. So that's not the power I'm interested in, Mona says. Priya asks, Mona, you essentially reject the idea that the patriarchy can be overturned, can be dismantled, can be burned to the ground, while being civil, peaceful, and polite. You argue that violence is a necessary sin for women and girls. That is highly controversial. What exactly do you mean by this? And again, Mona goes on to expose herself. I understood it was highly controversial, Mona says, and it was intentional. I ask people to imagine. Now I'm using this word imagine, and I'm underlining it 3 times. A scenario in which we kill a certain number of men every week. How many men must we kill until patriarchy sits across the table from us and says, okay, stop. What must we do so that you can stop this culling? And of course, by that time, there'll be like 150 men a week in Australia instead of just 21 that kill themselves because they don't get access to their kids because of feminist laws. But, you know, we don't need to worry about suicide as long as it's not women suiciding. We just need to make sure that the number of men and women getting killed are equal. And, you know, those women do not have to be held accountable for their own choices. I mean, if they want to go and fuck a drug dealing, gun toting ex-criminal who got put in jail for violently assaulting and beating people into a coma, and these girls still want to go and bang these dudes because and there's something sexy about him. He's just like he's a real bad boy, you know, and I like that about him. But then you come complaining to us when he beats the fuck out of you, when he beat the fuck out of the last 20 people. What made you think you were going to be different? And I'm not victim blaming, right? I'm not saying that anyone deserves to be beaten up. What I'm saying is that people should be logical in their approach to these things. And people should say, it's like me, right? If I get told, and I know from snake handlers, I've spoken to a fucking snake handler says, hey, I've been in this industry for the last X amount of years. These are the kinds of markings you need to look for in a snake that's going to indicate to you that this snake is likely going to be aggressive and is possibly going to be lethal if he bites you, right? If I was to go and then be like, oh, hey, aren't you a cute little fucking red snake or a cute little taipan or a, you know, cute little brown snake, and I went up and tried to pat the fucking snake and it bites me and I die because its venomous is so poisonous that my blood coagulates and I go writhing on the ground and someone finds me dead with my eyes rolled back into my head, there's going to be some people out there going to go, you know what, that was pretty fucking stupid of you to be going and patting a brown snake. That was pretty dumb of you to think that you could just like roll up on a black fucking red belly black snake and be like, oh, hey, you know, what's up? Let's fucking hang out for half an hour together. But yet when these women go to these men, nobody wants to say to them, hey, look, I know that you've just had your jaw broken by your boyfriend, but I gotta tell you, don't go near dudes like that, especially ones that just got out of jail for beating the fuck out of people, because they're probably gonna beat the fuck out of you as well. Just letting you know. So don't come crying to me when shit goes down. But of course, women do come crying to us. They go running to the police. They go running to the social services. They go running to their fucking smartphone and jump on Twitter. And, oh, my boyfriend just bashed me. Of course he did. You idiot. Of course he did. What the fuck did you expect? And this is why this is so stupid. Like, fuck. Anyway, getting sidetracked here. Let's get back to the article. Mona says in the book, my question is, how long must we wait so that men stop raping us? What will it take so that men stop murdering us? So if any of you have read some fact-based domestic violence legislation, you'd know that alcohol and drugs are the two biggest predictors of domestic violence. The two biggest causal reasons. So I'm just going to let you know, ladies, if you don't want to be sexually assaulted, if you don't want to be beaten up, and this goes for guys as well, just letting everyone in the fucking house know right now. If you don't want to have someone groping you inappropriately or trying to have sex with you, if you don't want people to get aggressive and violent with you, can I suggest that you don't hang around people that are drunk and under the influence of illicit drugs? That might be your thing, and that's cool. And if you do and something happens to you, don't blame me. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you. But if you're going to go to parties where everyone is popping pills, everyone's shooting up, you know what I mean? Everyone's got something going on. Everyone's taking substances, and everyone's drinking heavily. Don't expect shit not to get wild. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to get fucked up tonight. I'm going to pop pills and then wake up in the morning and be like, oh, I had sex with someone, so they must have raped me. No, take some fucking responsibility. We're expected to. You can do it too, ladies. Mona says, since my book came out, several women have said to me, oh my God, I am a mother of sons. How can you be talking about this? And Mona, guess what Mona says to these mothers of sons? You know, mothers that actually care about their children. You are more upset and disturbed at the imaginary scenario of violence against your sons, by which she means that, hey, it's just imaginary. Men don't get violently attacked. You are more upset and disturbed at the imaginary scenario of violence against your sons than the actual violence that is committed every day against your daughters or someone else's daughter. So it's imaginary if it happens to someone's son, but it's real if it happens to someone's daughter. This is Mona's feminist logic. Mona says, what does that mean about what patriarchy has done to us? Look at this. Look at this spastic femtard pointing a finger at her book in the window of a New York City bookshop in September 2019. Of course, New York is the home of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, so I don't know why any of us would be surprised that this is the kind of book that's in the bookshelves in New York City bookstores. Pia says, that is so surprising to hear, mostly because you've been subject to violence yourself. You know what Mona said? Mona said this: because I want patriarchy to fear feminism. I want patriarchy to fear women. I want to say a very important thing here. My main priority for women is to survive. Don't worry about men surviving, just only women. My main priority is for women to survive. And so when women have asked me, what if I'm in a dark alley somewhere and this guy's like 6'5" and I'm 5'2"? I say to her, look, your priority is to survive. So when you can be violent, be violent. But number one, survive. What exactly, like, I don't make a habit of walking down dark fucking alleys in dodgy areas. And I'm 6'1" and I can handle myself. So if you can't handle yourself around people bigger than you, I'm just saying, like, guy or girl, it's probably not the best idea to be walking down a dark alley. And in fact, if any of you have ever seen that song, what's it called? Hall of Fame with will.i.am. I can't remember who the primary artist is, and I apologize to the primary artist. But in that actual video clip, there's a dude walking through, like, this is broad daylight, right? He's walking down this walkway. There's like 5 dudes there, and they just like fucking beat him up, right? They like literally just beat him up in broad daylight, this white kid. But hey, you know, as if it does, like, what I'm saying is, like, if it only happens in dark alleys to women and it happens in broad daylight to men, then I don't know, I just kind of feel like women may be living a little bit safer. In fact, Australia is the safest country in the world for women. But hey, rape culture or something like that. So, you know, anything that I say, even if it's based on facts, is completely dismissed because feminists. A professor of law, Mona continues, Mary Ann Franks, sent me an article she calls Men, Women and Optimal Violence. And in this article, she is advocating that more women need to practice justifiable violence against the unjustifiable violence practiced on them by men. And she says that you see that optimal balance when men themselves are walking down the street and they think twice before beating up another man because they think, you know what, he might fight back and he might be better at fighting than me. Men never think that when it comes to women. But you know, we actually would, if we were going to beat up a chick in the street, and I don't know anyone that would want to do that or anyone that has done it, and I guarantee you that anyone I know, at least on some sort of level past, I've just come into contact with you once and that's it, nobody would attack a woman without being provoked. Just wouldn't happen. And it would have to be some serious provocation as well. It wouldn't be just like an insult and like, oh, hey, you called me fat, so I'm gonna beat the fuck out of you and leave you bleeding on the pavement. That's not gonna happen. That doesn't happen. So to anyone who believes that men just go around beating up women and attacking them that are not under the influence of alcohol or drugs, just for the sake of patriarchy, you're sorely mistaken. Here we go. Pia says, you know, violence tends to engender more violence. That's a very good point, Pia. That's a very good fucking point. Because when you're violent to someone, you're far more likely to have them retaliate against you. You know what Mona says to that? It can. But you know what? My question here is, how long must we wait so that men stop raping us? What will it take so that men stop murdering us? Well, you could try and eliminate alcohol and drugs. You could. But there's too many women that like doing alcohol and drugs to let that happen. There's too many men that enjoy that as well to let that happen. Cat's out of the bag. Right? Like you can go down to any supermarket and just buy as much alcohol as you want. You could literally go and buy 20 bottles of alcohol as long as you're over 18. So until you shut down every bottle shop and you stop people from making their own alcohol, which you can't do because you need to remove a whole heap of things that people usually use for cooking off supermarket shelves, and you'd have to go into a whole new level of totalitarian authoritarianism in order to achieve that. And then there's drugs. Think drug dealers are going to give it up? Do you know the story of Pablo Escobar feminists? Because I don't think you do. If you think that, well, actually they probably do, but they're just not even prepared to address the cause of any of this. They just want political power and money. It's simple. And they're using this as a smokescreen. Don't buy into it, men. Don't buy into it. It's a load of shit. You know it, I know it. And these feminists know it as well. But they're not going to allow us to find that out until it's too late. Men, I appreciate you. If you want to check out the article that I just read out, look below. If you've come in late, then please go back and watch this video because it's very important. Share it, comment, smash the thumbs up. Do what you got to do. Let's just get the word out here, guys. And I'm working on something as well. I look forward to hearing from you. And I just wanted to say, before I do go, I really, really appreciate all of you that have messaged me, reached out, dropped me a hangouts, email, whatever, however it is, jumped on my website and left me a, like, to the website contact. I appreciate absolutely every single one of you that has reached out and just asked how I am, because, you know, it's been a tough few months since I've been back. Like, I've really had to grind and hustle. I've been under a lot of pressure. Finances has been like crazy tight. So I've just been like head down, bum up, getting my work done, you know, making money, doing what I got to do, and just trying to survive, man. You know how it is. And I suggest to you all that you do the same for yourselves. I appreciate you. Peace.